All right, guys. So, thank you for joining me this morning on the Pizza Roll Diaries. We're waiting on Eric to show. He had to chat with his boss this morning, a last minute phone call. So, real life comes up. And that's okay. That's part of the things of doing things live is, you know, things creep up at the last minute, and that's okay. So, that being said, thank you guys for joining me this morning. um, so a couple of things that are coming to the channel. As you guys know, last Saturday night we had a good old conversation with my friend Eli, who was filming with Dreadnought Dominion. Uh, they shot down at Neutral Zone Studios, and they were filming with Frank Parker, Gary Davis, Randy Wren, um, bunch of other people. So fingers crossed they got everything they needed. Had a good shoot down there. Haven't heard anything bad, so everything went good. Hopefully everything went according to plan. Can't wait to see what they got coming down from there. So hopefully everything went good. So, but that was a lot of fun to talk to Eli. Had a lot of fun. Over the next couple weeks, we have a couple of good guests coming up. We have David Chang, who they he is a producer, actor, writer, I think director, like jack of all trades, I guess, as you would say. From Star Trek Fan Productions, I think is what they are. I'm bad with names, so you guys have to forgive me. Um, but he plays Admiral Nagura on those sets of films. But he'll be joining us, if I'm not mistaken. I think next week, I believe, and then the following Tuesday, which is next Tuesday, will be Greg Teft. He'll be joining us. We were supposed to do it last week, but I got diagnosed with uh, COVID and just wasn't able to do it. So, or well, they thought I had COVID. They weren't sure, but I was sicker than dog shit. So I was like, oh man, I can't do this. So um, I after last Monday's Pizza Roll Diaries, I kind of fell ill, wasn't sure what it was, and then stayed home from work. They gave me a COVID test, and then I kind of was in and out for next 24 hours or so. But Greg and I had to kind of cancel the Pizza Roll Diaries from there, so we rescheduled for the 16th. So next Tuesday we'll be doing Greg Taft, and then if I'm not mistaken, I think we're doing Frank Parker next. I think that's Saturday or no, Saturday or Monday. I'm not sure. The dates are all confused to me. But either way, next we're doing Frank Parker. Then after that, we're doing Roy Ivey, who plays our Admiral Vanden Boss from all the films. So yeah, we have a bunch coming up. So yeah, we just have a whole slew of people coming. And then in March we have a whole bunch of people coming. We have Michael King, we have Adam Mullen, we have who? Oh man, a bunch of people. We have Crorath, with Steve Atwell. Um, yeah, we have a whole bunch of people. We're booked completely in March, and then we're starting to get some people in April cycling through. So yeah, just keep joining on Mondays and then the occasional Saturday night. So, but anyway, I see Eric is here in the guest room, so let me get him on up here and add him to the stream. So, Eric, how are we doing, buddy? Oh, you're on mute, bud. Hold on, you're on mute, buddy. Still on mute. Technology, huh? It happens, man. It might be on the actual StreamYards.
You hear
There
me
you go.
now?
Yes, I can.
I'm
Yes,
testing something. If I go out 1 second, hold on. I'm testing
sure,
something.
sure, sure.
Can you hear me?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. It's weird. With I tried other streaming services, and when I tried the other streaming service, I'm able to plug in my mic right away, and it automatically links up. And
Hmm.
then it's weird because when it's plugged in, I have to replug it in, plug it out, and everything else. So it's been crazy. How you doing, man?
Oh, finer than frog here, my friend. How about you?
Good. It is Monday morning here. I'm on the East Coast in Philadelphia, so it's a typical Monday morning, working at home and everything, just taking care of business and everything else.
Hmm.
So, but other than that, coming along good. Coming along good.
Good deal. Good deal, man. I staying healthy, I take it.
Yes, yes. Well, I mean, since this whole thing started, I really haven't gone too many places. Luckily, I'm near shopping center, so everything is like across the street. The most I might have done was even when I'm done filming, I try to keep within COVID regulations and everything else, and making sure that everything is not too close and not too far, but we're getting what we need to get done on everything that we're working on.
Right.
So far, been keeping my fingers crossed and everything else.
Well, that's the important thing. Like, as fun as it is to film, keeping safe, these days, that's the important thing. It blows my mind when I see people and they have masks pulled down, or they have masks under their noses, or they have wear masks as an eye patch. It's like, motherfucker, we're not doing pirates here. What are you doing? Like, be safe. Like, oh,
Yeah,
Jesus
it's
Christ.
it's it's mainly it's mainly a matter of just using common sense, and a lot of
Yeah.
people, while I understand this the urgency to want to be out and interact with people, um, it's safety first. When I see friends, family members, people that are dying from this, um, and it hits close to home for a lot of my friends. You know, I do take it kind of personal because when I'm out here wearing a mask and you're not, granted, I'm not going to come up to you and wag my finger. It's not my responsibility. We're all grown adults, or at least most of us are. And for those people that don't, hey man, that's you. You fall by the sword. You sit by the sword. You fall by the sword. But just remember, there are other people that are losing their lives over this, and you have to be a little bit thoughtful. Again, I understand that some people feel the way they feel. You're entitled to it. For me, for my family, I'm going to make sure that I'm thinking about everyone by wearing a mask, and
Right.
I'm not being a robot or anything. I'm thinking for myself, and I'm thinking about other people that I don't have to worrying about them getting sick because I wasn't being responsible. I'm being responsible by doing it, and I think that's the biggest problem. Everyone wants to, oh well, in this day and age, especially, um, where we depend heavily on internet and everything on the internet telling us, instead of having a moral compass and saying do what's right, not because it makes it convenient or makes it comfortable for you, but do what's right. Do the right thing. I mean, I could get on a long tangent about it, but it's just that I think along the way, and this is what Star Trek, again, coming back to Star Trek always had a moral compass. They always taught you something, where at the end of a show or end of an episode or end of a movie, it made you take the time to think, and it had some kind of message in it. And a lot of times it wasn't at the surface, it was hidden. And but it would help you have a moral compass. And I think as the internet and a lot of other things, a lot of heavy influencers out there that are not promoting positivity or they're being toxic. I think what's happening, especially in the fandom community, Star Wars communities, Star Trek community, all across fandom, I think the biggest thing is for me, seeing all that, I try to bring something positive when I'm on my platforms and everything else because it's important. I grew up in an environment when I'm part of the Gen X era where we didn't have internet, we didn't have cell phones and all. So I grew up in the era where they taught you had morals and you had a moral compass. you're not going to be perfect. No one expects you to be perfect, but they expect, you want to try to do the right thing, whether it's
Right.
helping your neighbor, not passing judgment, and being able to inspire others and help others. I think a lot of people have lost that. Not us, but a lot of people have lost that. And for us as storytellers, as producers and directors, we're trying to bring something back into the environment where it's more positive, more uplifting. It's not a matter of, well, you got this person who's a person of color, or this person who's a woman, or this person who's gay, or this person who's this, or they're trans. And again, it's a matter of just being human, being thoughtful, and showing and telling stories that are driven because of our love for science fiction, Star Trek, Star Wars, and any other platform within the fandom and pop culture community. So I don't mean to get on a long tangent, but it's just that these are some of the things that always run through my mind. And when people ask me stuff, it's just like, okay, I can take this one little question. So I tend to be all like, yes, yes, but I don't try to wag my finger and tell people, you need to do this because I said it and da 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 da. No, I'm just saying, hey, this is someone's opinion. And then there are going to be people like, well, I think that it's like this and all. And I'm like, hey, to each his own. We can agree to disagree. But again, and I think that's the other thing too. People are so wound up that if you don't agree with them, oh, you better agree with me. And if you don't, you don't know what you're talking about. You are a clown and all this stuff. And I'm like, wow, what happened to being respectful? And
Right.
and you know what? And I'm gonna just say this. And there are going to be a lot of people out here that agree with me. You know what the biggest virus is? The biggest virus is stupidity. I think that's more rampant than COVID and any other disease. Stupidity has been the biggest virus in the last 3 or 4 years. I've never seen so much stupidity run rampant like wildfire. And I mean, seriously, I'm surprised.
They wear it like it used to be. If someone corrected you on something, you'd kind of hang your head in shame, be like, "Oh shit, I didn't know that." Now they wear it like a badge of honor, where it's like, "Ah, fuck, man, really?"
Yeah, you take your L and move on and learn from it. Even when and I got to say this with my production crew working on Planetary Step, I've learned a lot where there's been people in my crew. Now here I'm the leader or leading my crew, but there have been times when people in my production staff have like, set me aside or said, hey, and I'm like, damn, they're right. Damn, I gotta take the L because you know what? This is how you learn to be a better producer, better director, better writer, and you trust your crew that they're gonna lead you right. So, it's one of those things for me that it's humbling. And I'm going to remain humble. I think that's why I've had the longevity I've had in my career across all platforms in the pop culture business.
And that's something that you've for those in the people who are live in the chat and for those who are watching this backlogging, you've done Star Trek, you've done Doctor Who, you've done now Orville. You cosplay, you do fan films, you do a bit of you're a jack of all trades. What have I left out? Because I mean, people sit there and they say, "Man, Vance, you're the godfather of fan film," which is not accurate.
No, I'm not the guy
out there.
Cosplay maybe, but not fan films.
But
no, I've been a pro wrestler for over 10 years in the
really?
circuit. Yeah, I was a pro wrestler starting back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Like during the WWF Attitude Era, ECW era. I worked under ECW for I was able to open up with New Jack for ECW reunion show. I was part of NWA Shockwave. I've been that was like a sister company to TNA at the time. I worked with a lot of the greats in the business, either wrestled with them or worked on a show with them. I've been a world champion, a tag team champion, intercontinental champion. I've been an actor. Of course, I've done TV and films. I did some extra work for Chadwick Boseman's film 21 Bridges when it was filmed here in Philly. I just recently appeared in Dispatches from Elsewhere, that show that was on TNT. Was it TNT? Yeah, TNT. And I was TV host for Heroes of Cosplay for Sci-Fi Channel. I've done other films like independent films, shorts. I've been on TV. I was, in fact, one of the first times I got national exposure was appearing on the Jenny Jones show for hot celebrity lookalikes, because my resemblance to The Rock, especially when we had both of us had hair and had the sideburns. There's pictures floating around on the internet. All you got to do is type in the smoke and The Rock, and there's a picture of us together sitting side by side, and it says it all. So, but yeah, I and like I said, I've been a runway model in my late teens. I was cosplaying before the term cosplay was even called that. It was called costuming, and I was doing that in the mid '80s when I was in my like mid teens, going into like I was attending conventions when I was attending creation conventions, Star Trek conventions, and I was one of the few people that dressed up. At that time, we called it dressing up or costuming. And now you have a sea of all these great costumers, cosplayers and everything. And so, but a lot of people don't know. I'm also an official DC comic book character for DC Comics. I've appeared in other comic books and everything else. So I'm always finding ways to reinvent myself. I'm now doing, like I said, doing more independent films as well as fan films, fan film series, and also being a host, cosplay director for Great Philadelphia Comic Con. I was on tour at Wizard World. So I have done. It is weird because when you look back and you're like, man, I did all this stuff. It is humbling, but at the same time, it's surreal. And also, I was a United States Marine, so I've done a lot of stuff. I've covered a lot in my lifetime, and I've only just begun. So, like I said again, it's. I just sit back sometimes and I'm like, and here's the thing. To me, the internet is great in some ways, and other ways, I'm one of those kind of people that like to show off my work, my art. I tell people all the time, cosplayers are artists. We just bring two-dimensional characters in the 3D world, and we bring them to life. And we bring up our own interpretations as artists. So, and just like with films, like you, myself, and a whole bunch of other people, we are artists telling our stories from writing to bringing it to the screen, being inspired from set TV shows, films, and what have you. So for us, for people like us, we are artists in our own right as well. You're an artist, I'm an artist. And, you know, one thing for sure that I try to just remain like humble on is the fact that I don't really care. I mean, I care because of the people who I work with, but I really don't care if I get 2 million likes, if I get one like, if I have 5 million followers, if I have 2 or 3 followers. I'm being able to tell my stories, show my work, show my expression of creativity, and in doing so, and in doing that, I'm able to share with the masses. And somewhere along the line, I'm going to affect someone. It may not be 5 million people, but I'm going to affect somebody to inspire them to want to do what I'm doing, or take it to the next level. And as someone who deals with, I deal with mental, you know, I have mental, I deal with post-traumatic stress. I deal with anxiety and depression. These are my areas where it helps me and it's therapeutic for me as well. And I'm not ashamed about talking about that, because people need to hear that when they're going through their mental stress and everything. It's a deal. It's a real deal for me. And I'm in therapy and everything else. And I have my good days and I have my bad days. When my bad days hit, you know, it hits me, you know, or I feel like I can't be creative and all. But there have been a lot of other days where my creativity really comes out.
It's an outlet.
Yeah, it's a major outlet for me. So to be able to do and be able to be expressive, it says and speaks a lot. And I mean, seriously, like people like yourself, when you and I talk behind the scenes and stuff, and you know, I've shared stuff with you that I've gone through, and you share stuff with me. Again, man, it means a lot. And I think also the biggest thing for me in doing this, filmmaking and being creative, It's being able to collaborate and working with all different people from different walks of life, and not and then because of technology, we're able to do that. There was a time where pen paling each other or talking on the phone was the most that we could do. And
Right.
and so we couldn't reach out to so more. There were so many people like us that were like us, that were into what we're into, but because we didn't know, there were more like us out there. It means a lot. It means a lot. So, but yeah, it's a humbling thing, man. The older I've been getting, my birthday's in a couple of days, so it's reflection time for me, and I'm like, wow, man, I got fewer days ahead of me than I do behind me, so I want to make the most of it. And then I'm a big kid at heart, so I don't look my age. So I'm like,
well, first, happy early birthday.
thank you.
I have to say, when I was looking for the picture to put on the Pizza Roll Diaries thumbnail, I have to say I was really wanting to put. I ended up putting the Planetary Step, one, because it's promoting your project. But I really wanted to take the Kingpin picture, because to me that's one of my favorite. Dude, it's very imposing, because, like, first off, one of the things I like about you, like, you're like me, like, you're a big dude, like, you're imposing. For me, I feel like I'm more, like Peter Griffin. I could do it. Like, you put me in a room with a chicken and I'm fucking fighting that chicken. But for you, like, you in that suit, like, dude, you're either going to make a really cool prom date, or you're going to be a big motherfucker, kingpin.
There's a story behind that. All right, so I'm 6'3", 380, 85 pounds, mainly solid. I work out and everything. And the thing is that, for a long time, people were like, oh, you should do the Kingpin. And I took it as how can I say it? I kind of took it as an insult at first, a long time ago, because when Michael Clark Duncan did it, I was like, why? Because he's a black dude and I'm like a big black dude. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do him. Plus, I got hair. I'm like, I'm not doing him. But then when I saw Vincent D'Onofrio's interpretation of Kingpin, and by that time I had no hair, and I was watching it, and I was really riveted by his performance on the Daredevil Netflix series. I was like, you know what? I need to do him, because D'Onofrio was never a fat dude. He was just a big guy like us.
Right.
And so I just said, you know what? I'm going to channel what I can from him into what I do. And it was, out of all my costumes, and I've done a lot, and I mean, I still got my favorites. Out of all my costumes, this one has went the most viral. And I'm like, here, I didn't wear any big time costumes, and my presence. And I'm still looking to do a major photo shoot with Spider-Man cosplayer or Daredevil cosplayer or both and everything else. But I've just had so much fun. And then I did a little morphing thing on TikTok where it was like remorphed my face with D'Onofrio's, and it just kind of went good. Most of the time, and this is the thing with me, as a cosplayer, I don't do characters that people think I should do. I do characters that people think I would never do. And then when I do it, people are like, holy crap. Oh my God.
Your Skeletor, for example.
What's that?
Your Skeletor, for example.
Yeah. And so I've done like 9 to 8 versions of Batman where people are like, oh my God, you do a great Batman. They don't look at the color. They just look at, oh my God, you do a great Batman. I've done Maui from Moana, and people have lost their minds when I'm like totally in character. I've done so many. I've done well over close to 1,000 different characters. And since we're talking about since the 80s up to the present, I've done well over 1,000 different characters, from big to small, to big costumes, to little costumes, and everything else in between. So that's including anything I do Star Trek. It's considered each costume. It's not, oh, well, I've done this group, and I'm starting to do like this year. I'm going to be focused on doing more Star Wars stuff this year. Like I've always surrounded myself with Trek and now like I'm like working on looking to get 2 more Trek costumes. But in the meanwhile, I got all these costumes, and I'm like, okay, like I'm trying to get the camera close to me because there's all this stuff in the back, and I'm very close to the chest when it comes to debuting a new cosplay. I kind of wait, and I try to wait for it to be completed. Then I go out and say, look at what I've done. Other people was like, look, these are the steps I took to build this cosplay. I take my time and just wait for it to be done and then show everyone how it was made and stuff. So yeah, I'm like this. Like I think the biggest thing I just got, it went majorly viral recently was I debuted my version, my a CW version of Swamp Thing, and that thing is 7 feet tall, and it went viral, and it was really, and I mean, I had a lot of help. Brian Dole, who initially designed the suit, and then I added my own upgrades to it, and had help with other like 2 other cosplayers, and then for photography and everything. So when people ask me, do you do your cosplays by yourself? And I'm like, no, I have a team of people that help me. Some things I do by myself, others I don't. And that's the fun part when you can collaborate. And I think that's where my creativity comes out the best, is when I'm working with other collaborators that see and are just as creative as me. It brings out and motivates the creativity within me, and helps me bring it out and stuff. So like I said, man, it's really something. It's really something.
Well, that's the one thing, like, because you and I've have had quite a few conversations, and you've always been open to, hey, what do you think about this, or what do you think about that? And like, just the fact that you've taken that to the cosplay area and allowed other people to express themselves, and like, I mean, it's not surprising that it's shown, and kind of allowed that to just blow up, to allow people to do what they do best, and then allow that to just elevate the product, and the fact that you've had several things just go viral, the one thing that I've noticed about a lot of cosplayers, and this turns me off of cosplay, is the fact that people, a lot of cosplayers put themselves out there, but they over sexualize things. And I hate that, because to me, it's like, that's, if that's your thing, great. But, that, I'm not knocking that. It's fine. It's just, for me, it's like, that's not my thing. I don't, whatever. But you do.
I don't know, man. If you wear a thong, I don't know. You might be,
I should replicate the same things, except my pose. That you have now inspired me to do that. That's what I'm gonna. Fuck yeah, I'm gonna be.
Let me just say like this, for example, like I have friends, male friends, that have cross-played and some really great and I had to double take, like, wow, you really did a good job. The one thing about me, I say this, and I speak truthfully on this, when it comes to the sexualizing of cosplay, I don't really. It's like, my thing is, if you're just known for just doing that and it works for you, God bless you, hey, do you. My thing is I like those cosplayers that can be creative within that realm. If you're going to be that way, be creative. Be that one that stands out, that does something that most others don't. I think because at the end of the day, right now we're in a unique time right now where there's not a lot of cons going on, and we're going to probably have to go back to basics, like how Comic-Cons used to be, which fine. This is when you see who are the real true cosplayers are. Doesn't matter if they're centralizing or they're cross-gen or they're doing whatever. This is where you see who's going to be creative, who is really the true cosplayer, and the ones that are just doing it because everyone else is doing it, the bandwagoners. I mean, the people that jump on the bandwagons. For me, I've been like this from day one. And ask anybody that went to elementary school with me, all the way through high school. Some people that knew me in the military, that have seen me dress. Again, this has been my love for a long time. This has been my passion. So this is never going to stop. Even during COVID, I found I didn't do it heavily, but I was still coming up with new costumes. I got like 30 costumes I'm looking to debut for this year alone. So again, it's one of those things that I live, breathe, sleep, eat, walk, crap, cosplay all day long. And along with that, I throw in with my cosplay, I throw in the filming. That's where my filming ideas come in. And I'm like, well, I got these costumes. Why not just put them on? Not just put them on pictures. Let me bring it to life by filming it on camera. See what I can bring up to life. And there's other great people out there that do just the same. So, and it's inspiring, like I said again. So, like I said, everyone to each his own. I'm not one to pass judgment. At this point in juncture, I'm too old to care. So I'm like, hey, if it makes you feel good, if that's the way a person if they can get through the day and saying, okay, I want to do it like this. I want to cosplay because I want to cosplay. I always use this model: cosplay the way you want. I never let anyone deter me because it might be a reason why they're doing it. There was a time where I might have been a little bit judgmental about it, but I've learned as I've gotten older that I'm like, hey, people got to do what they got to do. If it makes them feel good, they're not hurting no one. They're not out here spewing hate, and they're about being positive, but just being positive in their realm. Hey, as I always say, do you, boo boo, do you? Because if it makes you happy, who am I or anyone else to pass judgment? Again, as long as you're doing something positive, as long as you're helping and inspiring, as long as you're not spewing hate, and as long as you're not belittling other people, then hey, why not? You
Well,
know.
there was a Sally Seagraves. She was in three of the films, and that was how I. She was on, where was it? Star Trek Cosplay,
Uh-huh.
and they do. She's transgender,
Okay.
and that was where I learned. I'd been in the group for probably about a year and ignored a lot of the cosplay stuff because I tend to kind of shut out a lot of things that I don't go to a lot of the group stuff because I'm just like, you get invited to a lot of groups, you kind of tend to tune out a lot of the stuff. I'm like, I don't want to pay attention. But I noticed one of the costumes, and I was like, man, that's pretty good. And that seeing the costume over and then another costume, and seeing Jadzia and seeing Major Kira and seeing, I was like, oh man, would you want to be in a film? Would you want to, and seeing, it's kind of like how you do, you
Yeah.
saying, I got all these costumes, and like I said, Sally was in three of my films.
Yeah, she's
Uh,
great. She's great.
yeah,
She's
and
really
and
good.
I think Sally had done an article. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was StarTrek.com. I think it was, or something where, like, when I noticed the article, I was like, man, that's recognition. For me, I was like, that's damn, that's thinking about where I first noticed to where you landed, like that's wow.
Yeah.
You kind of, and that's someone that takes something so small from a thrift store and turns it into something really special. And that's someone who's gone through the pandemic and just continued to go.
Yeah.
Not someone who's just kind of a Johnny come lately where it's just kind of fallen by the wayside and like, I don't care. It's someone that can take a piece of string and there you go. Now you've got now you've got Jadzia Dax and Ezri Dax. It's like, wow, this is cool. But like no shit, like by three of their cosplay things, I was like, hey, let's make this character and tell the story of like throughout 3 or 4 years of this character's life. And Sally was like, okay, let's do it. And I ended up getting, I think it was 5 films out
Oh,
of and we got to tell a great story arc with that character. And Sally's great with doing a cosplay. When I think of like Top of the Mountain, I think of Sally. So great example of what you can do when you put your mind to it.
exactly.
And a lot of that you would never know that it was taken from, hey, I got this laying around the house, or I got this out of a thrift store, or I got this for 25 cents, or it's just amazing what you can put your mind to it. You don't
Yeah.
have to say, hey, I spent $1,000 on this Avanos, uh, you know, I skipped the house payment to get this uniform for the,
Yeah.
you
And,
know,
and and you know what? And again, some people have their goals and they live for that. And I mean, hey, again, I go back to the idea, makes you happy, knock yourself out.
exactly.
Maybe that's not something I would do, but if that's something that a person would do, because people can look at my stuff and say, well, I wouldn't pay or make these payments or what, or I wouldn't do this. Like I've spent money on costumes, but I made sure I got a bang for my buck out of it, and I made sure that I did what I needed to do. But not a lot of people can do that, and they're not in a position to do that. So they got to make do what they got to make do, and then some people that's like, hey, I'm set on getting this because it's me. It says me, and $5,000
Well,
or $200 or two
well, I,
dollars. You know,
Well, I notice the action figure that you have in the action figures that you have in the back, and I've noticed before when we chatted, I'm like, I envy your collection of figures. I have a collection myself in my walk-in closet. When you walk in, it's just surrounded by action figures. That was something when we bought this house here that I told my wife. I said, I don't care what, you can have the whole house. You can do what you want, decorate it how you want, but
Mhm.
I want my den, and I
Yeah,
want to decorate it how I want. When I walk in my walk-in closet, I want to be surrounded by action figures. And I have like right now I'm looking at my man at arms. It's the giant one that my brother-in-law got
I
me.
got the Skeletor one.
The
That
the giant the
yeah,
giant big from the big yeah.
yeah, that's really good. And for me, like I never thought, like I have a glass case of nothing but hot toy figures and figurines and stuff. And like you said, it's like God bless my wife because she's like, hey, like in my basement, this is my workshop. Some of it is in my little mini. It's like a studio workshop.
Hmm.
I do my video stuff here, and she's cool. Like she's like, hey, do you? Even upstairs, there's little parts of the house where she'll allow me to show off my stuff, and we kind of do a combination of both. And she's also a Trek fan and all, so she gets it. Um, so I just try, like you said, it's a great way of being able to show my love for what I'm into, and it's great when you can have someone in your life that understands it, that doesn't wag their finger at you, that doesn't pass judgment, but just like, hey, if it makes you happy, you're home, you're not out here doing anything. Hey, who am I to tell you you can't do you? And this is who you were when I met you. Why am I going to change that? So
Right.
I mean, I can get into a deep conversation on that alone. So versus being apologetic to when I was single, being apologetic to women that because of my fandom, because of my love for what I love to do, because
Right.
I wasn't a heavily sports fan or I wasn't a heavy typical like oh, I got to go to the club or I got to go out drink. I was that guy that like I can still engage with people, but I also prefer to be at home playing games because I can't handle always being around large crowds unless I'm in control of that crowd or unless I'm in control where I'm in a Comic Con where I'm hosting and all. So I'm not, I don't have to run and be in the crowd of people and all where I'm like, okay. But it's weird because I've been on the flip side of fandom and then the flip side of celebrity slash personality. So it's humbling because like I tell people all the time when I do appearances and I'm appearing with Doug Jones, for example, and he and I are sitting side by side and we're joking around and we're friends and all. And then I'm like, well, 20 or 10, 15 years ago, I was on the opposite end looking at these people like, oh my God, oh my God. But then I'm like, and it's surreal. Like I said, again, I mean, I could tell you stories how like I interacted with like William Shatner or being in a room where I'm in a green room and I'm sitting there with William Shatner, Avery Brooks, Scott Bakula, Kate Mulgrew, and Patrick Stewart, and keeping my cool as a professional because of the fact that the fanboy in me wants to go nuts. The professional side of me is like, yeah, hey, how's it going? Hey, how you doing? At the same time, I'm like, oh my God, oh my God. So, and my wife is laughing at me the whole time. So again, man, it's I've learned to just stay humble. Again, I love doing what I do. I love the business. I got so much more I got to do. I got so much more coming up. It's so many surprises. And then working on A Planetary Step. And again, I got to give you a shout out. You got to make sure you get your props where props is due. A lot of people don't know you kind of started it before I came along with it with the Marianas Trench. And even though to you, you're a very humble dude. You're like, oh well, it was something small. And I'm like, no, dude. And it was funny because you and I were friends prior to that. And I'm like, how did I not know? And it was right before I was premiering the pilot when somebody was like, well, you're the first Orville fan, Phil. And then someone told me that no, there's another one out. And I'm like, well, I'm not. And then that's when I reached out to you and we were talking, and I said, all right, this is only going to be right it can only be right if I ask you to play as the Admiral, as an ongoing character, like a reoccurring character on our series as Admiral Menard. And you were like, yeah. And I love the fact because I know you were like, Smoke, can I show off the suit? Sure, can I show off? Like, yeah, we're surprised. And you were like, and then I loved it when you did the video, you and your son, you were like, your son was like, yeah. And I was like this. All right, I'm not going to knock him on that one. But I wanted to keep it close to the chest because I wanted your fans and fans in the community to be surprised when they see you and they're like, and then you're so cool and suave. You're like, thank you, Commander. And I'm like, oh my God, he's doing it so chill, And you were awesome. I mean, you were awesome. I cannot wait to bring you back in upcoming episodes. And we already got plans for you and stuff. But it's your Admiral Bernard in the Orville universe is awesome, and I can't wait because, like I said, your performance was spot on. I was like, and you didn't have, because at no point did you say, well, how do you want me to be? And I said, no, be how the Admiral will be in this universe. And you were just like, it's like, and I'm like this, oh my God. I'm like, oh, I don't have to worry about doing take after take. I'm like, this is perfect. So again, and so to be able to do this, to have the blessings from the producers of the show, interviewing some of the cast members, people that were attached to the Orville on the show, the producers, some of the people that make the show what it is. It's great. It's humbling. I'm hoping that one day when COVID lifts or when things get a little bit better, I'll be able to come down to the sets, check out the sets, and everything else. So we got altogether, we got like 8 episodes for the season 1. We're already in episode 1. We're right now in production of episode 2, and that's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be real funny. I already got a special voice guest that's going to be appearing. I don't want to reveal who it is yet, but because I'll tip my hat too quick. But it's really going to be cool because I'm really looking forward to having him. I just casted him a couple of days ago, so and he has some history in the business and all that. Especially what we're doing for episode 2. So that's going to be fun. I can't wait. But yeah, like I said, and then the upcoming episodes, the special guests that we have coming on. Yeah, we're definitely hitting the mark, and all because the fact that we have a love for the Orville. And to me, the Orville is to me what Seth MacFarlane did for the Orville is paying his homage to Star Trek. Seth was like us. If you're out there and you're floating on the internet, you will find Seth when he's done his little Star Trek fan films when he was younger, and end up becoming a cast member on Enterprise. He's living the dream that all of us wanted to be. A pure walk on whatever on Star Trek. And so when I see that, like it's humbling, man. It's humbling.
Well, and that's what the Orville to me. Like that's what when I saw your film, and I reached out and I told you like my initial thoughts, and that's what I loved about seeing like the film's sense and the first one, and like it felt so close to what the show was, which is what I feel Star Trek should be, and I feel is what's missing from modern Star Trek. As much as I like Discovery and I like Picard, I mean there are some things I don't like about it. Overall, I give it a pass. I give it a thumbs up. I don't knock it. I do enjoy it. There are things I like, but I don't like it as much as I like old Trek. And I don't mean to be like how TOS fans were toward Next Gen. I'm not that toxic because my parents absolutely hated Next Gen, and I'm not that way toward Discovery. I'm not that way toward Picard. I do like it for what it is. However, there's that sense of looming darkness that I don't like, and I don't write that way when I write Star Trek Picard era fan films because I have written some. But when you watch Orville, there's that sense of hope. There's that sense of happiness. There's that sense of, it's not Family Guy in space, which everyone said it was going to be. It's not. It's fun. It's hopeful. It's happy. And you get that sense of exploration. It's not quite Next Gen, but it feels like it's on that level. And I like it. It's kind of, it feels like what they said Voyager was going to be. It's almost like Next Gen. It's not, but it feels as close to what Next Gen was. And it's so hopeful, and it's almost a replacement for Star Trek. And I tell you, when they had that oh shit moment when Isaac's people invaded, that was the longest fucking week of my life. I was like, God damn it, Seth, what did you do?
I remember talking about that, and I was talking about that with on one of the Orville interviews, and I said how I said, thank God we didn't have to wait a whole season. We had to wait the following week to find out. I said, Seth was
Right.
smart enough to do that. And I will say this, as someone who grew up in the 70s watching Star Trek and everything, uh, again, none of us are gatekeepers, and people like to sometimes throw that word out. Oh, you're a gatekeeper. No, it's just that people like what they like, and I don't knock it. I mean, look, when Next Gen came out in the beginning, I didn't care for the first 2 seasons until the uniforms got better and the writing got better.
Wait. You didn't like the spandex? What?
Well, I didn't care for the really high emphasis of yes, where no man has gone before, and they're saying it like, look, everybody, we love our TOS, and we get it, we got it, and again, I don't blame the actors, I blame the writing, how they wrote it, but then they got better, and by the time season 2, middle of season 2, going to season 3, start rolling around, I think one of the highlights, and I hate to say this, one of the highlights that you didn't see coming was Tasha Yar getting killed. And it was like, oh, they killed off a character that was supposed to be a person. And so that was that was the first time you saw a major character, because most of the time you're like, oh, the character's going to come back. They're like, no, they're not coming back. Not until seasons later. But the fact that it came into its own. It started coming into its own. And I think the other one was the conspiracy episode, which, again, if you're going to ask me what's one of my favorite episodes of the season 1, season 2 era, it would be conspiracy, because they never came back and revisited that. But to me, it was like, holy crap. It scared the bejesus out. Didn't scare me, but it was just like, and the way they ended it on a dark note. You're like, and I'm looking around like, oh shit, like, are they going to come back? And they never, that was one episode I wanted them to do a follow-up with. But the thing is that sometimes it's good to have darkness to remind you to get back into the light. So I don't look at with Discovery. Discovery was going through its growing pains. I like Discovery. There were a couple episodes I could do without. There were some things that they could have fine-tuned, and they kind of listened to the fans. They started listening to the fans, especially with the Klingons. I was not a big fan of the way the Klingons were. I didn't care that they spoke in Klingonese, but I did have an issue about how they looked, because they were trying to go for a different aesthetic, and I just didn't care for it, because I'm like, why, if it's not broke, why try to fix it, and why try to change it up? And a lot of fans were pissed by that. And I think between the overall rules on fan films, and then not only that, now you're kind of putting your foot in the face of fans that have stuck by Star Trek, and you're changing up an iconic character that's normally a villain. You're changing up the look and all. I mean, the reason why people like 2009 Star Trek, in my opinion, the reason why people like Star Trek 2009, because even though it was in a different universe, it's the way they wrote it. Granted, J.J. Abrams was jumping from one fandom to another, but at least he got the premise of what everything has been about and stuff. So the thing is that hold on a second.
You're good, brother.
Oh, okay. So the thing is about hold on.
Sure.
Sorry.
No, you're fine, man. Hey, it happens, man. It's fine.
So the thing is that, sorry about that. The thing is about with me when it comes to that is what people got to realize when it comes to this kind of fandom, they're going to make their choices and decisions. And like I said, with Star Trek 9, well, not Star Trek 9, the J.J. Abrams Star Trek, they stayed along certain, like, okay, this is going to be in a different universe. We're going to explain why this is in a different universe, but we're going to still marry what came before and what came after. With Discovery, it kind of just rewrote the book and saying, well, it's kind of like in this universe, but because of, and that's where people were already mad, like I said, because of the fan film rules, because now you are looking more on a money aspect on the show instead of the fans aspect, and you're trying to say, well, I'm going to tell my story the way I want it, and you guys got to deal with it. Again, I loved Michael Berman's character. Loved her. I love
Saru.
Saru's character. I love the dynamics. I love Giorgio, like when she was Captain Giorgio. I love the dynamics. I love the whole mirror universe thing. Again, and I loved a lot of the other like well-diverse characters. But again, it's because it wasn't in a proper setting and everything else. It really kind of, to other people, it hurt the franchise. The only thing I didn't care for is the fandom. The fandom, not all the fandom, but you had a lot of people out there that wanted to, in my opinion, wanted to, how can I say this? Wanted to like relish off the idea that, hey, if I put something toxic out there, I'll get more views. So I'm going to start hating on it, and I'm going to bring other people aboard. And after a while, you get people that just want to hate on something because they got nothing else positive to say, who are not real fans. And I remember bumping into someone. I won't say who this person is, but I bumped into someone who was part of one of those forums, and I bumped into him at Vegas Trek in 2019. Nicest person that you could ever like interact with. And I had to say to this person, I said, go easy on Discovery, because I'm like, you don't have to kill it like that. And they're like, what? But it was funny because we both laughed about it. But and again, I'm not one of those kind of people that, I'm gonna send a death threat out to you because you don't like Trek. No, but and you're entitled to your opinion, but don't, like, the one thing about, I use my boy JP from Egotastic Fun Time.
Mm-hmm.
We've discussed this, and he and I have talked about how we can have differences of opinion, and we don't have to like every Star Trek. We don't have to like every episode. We don't have to like every show, but we can have appreciation and respect that, hey, there's some things I like about it. There's some things, but everyone is welcome to talk, and no one will get knocked down because you are not in agreement with me, or I'm not in agreement with you. It's not a matter of being chill. It's not a matter of being a gatekeeper. It's a matter of just, hey, I have a passion for this show. I have a love for this show. This is how I feel about it. But I'm not going to hate on every little thing that they do, or every little thing that a producer or writer does. If that's the way how the show is, I'm like, okay, I can either do one or two things. I can either continue watching it or not watch it all. But if I'm going to continue watching it, I'm going to just watch it and take it for what it is. But some people are using that as a platform for just being toxic, and that's where I got issues at. Okay.
Well, and that's the thing where, I think from the audience's perspective, like half of them didn't know, okay, is this, they I don't think they really trusted the writers, because like I think it kind of stemmed back from the whole Khan Cumberbatch. Is this Khan? No, it's not. Is this Khan? No, it's not. Oh, hey guys, it's Khan. Okay, but we asked you if it was okay, fuck it. So then they get to this and they're like, is this the Kelvin universe? No, it's not. Are you sure? No, it's not. Are you sure? No, it's not. No. Okay, we still don't trust it. I mean, we're now going into 4 seasons, and you've still got people who still think it's the Kelvin, and it's like, no. You even had that one dude with the glasses who talked about the Kelvin universe. Yep. So it's established it's Prime, and you've still got people, and you still got people going, no, it's the Kelvin universe. What? No. So you have people's expectations. I personally,
now they're establishing that there's going to be multiverse. So, and that's the thing. I'm like, I don't care. Just tell me. Here's what it comes down to. Tell me a good Trek story. Because when you really think about it, our fan films, our fan series are all in different universes of Trek. Some of it is interpretation of taking place in the Prime universe. Okay, some are in the Kelvin universe. Some are in a totally different universe. When I did Trek Isolation, it was with the idea that it took place during the TOS era. Now, that could be at any point in time. Collaborating with John Broughton and his crew with Farragut Pictures, being a part of Starship Farragut, to me, I'm like, yeah, I'm a part of that whole thing. And so when I, like, again, it's a matter of just being able to tell your story, but not be so judgmental of other people's story or interpretation. Now, granted, there's some people that need to be properly educated, because some people don't know. And like you said, they get mixed up. They don't know. And yeah, it goes back to storytelling and explaining it to the fandom. When David Cronenberg's character started explaining about the whole deal with JoJo's character being in the mirror universe, coming to the future in her body, and then also the time not the time I've forgotten oh my god
The Temporal War?
no, not the temporal war. Oh my gosh, when everybody was going back and forth, we're like, oh, who's that? Is that Doctor Who? Oh my god, and he did his little echo. He's a TOS character that came to
the Guardian of Forever?
Guardian Forever. And he was like, well, she's going to be in this period, but hey, we're not going to. And so I'm like, all the possibilities. It's a multiverse thing. It's like the newest trend in pop culture is multiverse, because we're kind of bringing that into the real world too. But it's multiverse. I love multiverse stories. I love
me too.
the fact that you could say, well, this is a story here. That's why I love DC stories when they say, well, this is an Elseworld story. Now Marvel's tapping into the multiverse next, which I'm like excited for. For those people who haven't watched WandaVision, but watch WandaVision, you'll understand. All I'm saying is, it's a thing where I've learned just to enjoy the ride and see where it takes me. I just want to give me good stories. I don't care where, how, when, who, where, what, why. Just tell me a good Trek story. Tell me a story that makes sense, that characters I can either relate to, like, or dislike, because you wrote it really good for me to not like a character, and not because the way you just wrote a plain one-dimensional character. I'm talking about a multi-layered character that you're like, oh, I can't stand this character, but they wrote it good for me not to, like, when you say, oh, I don't like this actor, he played this character so well, that's saying
that's the point.
To the writer. That's credit to the writer. So again, I go with the idea that we all want that as fans. We want to be able to have those heroes we root for. Mandalorian is a prime example of good storytelling. Mandalorian is great. Like, Moff Gideon, when you see him, you're like, oh, I just want to hurt him. But then when you see Grogu, you're like, oh, when everyone cried when Grogu left and everything, again, that's good writing. That's good writing. And so, because people invest in those characters, people invest in those series, people invest in those stories. So, like when we bought Stan Lee in our series and had Stan Lee appear, I wanted to be a thing where Stan Lee, when he appeared, that it meant something, and also it paid a little nod to other things, that the possibilities are endless. And I tell people the backstory when he appears and he talks about being in a whole new universe. And he talks about being in a whole new universe. I always joke and say, well, yeah, that's because in the Marvel universe, he was stuck on that planet, if you remember, in Guardians of the Galaxy, and the Guardians thrust him into the Trek universe. That's why he's like being in a whole other galaxy. And I'm like, yeah, we kind of paid nod to Marvel and all. But it was a great way when he said that line. And, for us being a part of that and being able to say, I got Stan Lee. Stan Lee's never done any Star Trek stuff. Holy crap! It's like I'm just totally blown away and all that. So, it's something. It's something. I when I look back on it, I just kind of like, wow. I gotta eventually post a trailer. I have a unseen trailer that never got a chance to air of Trek Isolation. We have this unseen trailer that I'm looking to eventually put out. I gotta reach out to my co-creator, co-writer, Dave Turner, and make sure that we both are on the same page and we just show it for the fans and all that stuff, because it's an interesting trailer. I think we did it once and all a long time ago, but yeah, but it's like I said, man, I have a love for this fandom overall, for pop culture in itself. And again, I just ask all the fans out there of any genre, whether it's Trek, Star Wars, Orville, Expanse, any of the shows, let's not be so judgmental and toxic. If we don't like something, it's all right not to like something. Hey, but don't knock the person that, if they don't agree with you, don't get into argument with them. Have a discussion. I think at the end of the day, we're all passionate. We all have a love. We can all agree that we have a love for this show and series. Yeah, we may not always agree that things are not the way they should be, but then that's why we do the things we do, by telling our own stories. If you feel that inclined, go out there, tell your stories, write it on paper. this gentleman here and myself are living proof that, hey, we wanted to tell our own stories. Every time I turn around, you turn around, you see you with a new story. You're like, I'm like, wait, I wake up, wait, he's got another episode. Wait, he's got another episode. You know, he'll hit me up and say, by the way, I got a new episode coming out. I'm like, oh crap. And you know, people are like, where does he find the time? And again, I love the fact that you do that. And you, like you told me before, you're like, oh, I do it because I have a love for it. I don't care if it's seen a lot or it's seen a little. And that's why I have a lot of respect for you, man, because of the fact that you and I are kindred spirits in the sense that we just love what we do. We don't care if we get no listen. If people like what we do and we're getting the attention of Patrick Stewart or William Shatner or Jonathan Frakes, and Jonathan Frakes says, "Oh yeah, I like their stuff. I like No Budget Productions. I love the Orville stuff." Again, that's just icing on the cake for us. But
Right.
the real deal, the real meat and potatoes for us is be able to say, yeah, we were able to tell our stories. When we get much, 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 much older and we're sitting in our retirement area and we're chilling out, and we can look back and say, yeah, you know, look what we accomplished. Look at what we left behind. There's going to be down the road someone that's going to do a documentary film about fan films and about the people that made them, whether they were big, small, the ones that got notoriety, the ones that stayed consistent and just did it because they had a love for it and didn't care if they came or went. And people like us are going to be around for a long time because we're not looking to make money. We're not looking, it's a matter of just telling our stories. If we get that, not saying that we wouldn't want it, but if we get that, hey, that's icing on the cake for us. So,
Well, and that's the thing. Like, to me, the thing I take, you know, the Patrick Stewarts or Jonathan Frakes, or to get acknowledgement like that, of course people would love that. I mean, that's something we would love ever since we're kids. We pretend to be Data or Worf or Picard, you know, or Kirk or Spock, you know, like that. You know, we all would love that, you know. But to me, the thing I take away from doing all these films is I've met people like, you know, people like you, you know, who normally I wouldn't really know. I would just be like, oh, cool. I know of him, but I don't know him. You and I've talked plenty of times on the phone.
right.
You know, I've got to make a film with my kid, you know, a story about my son, something where, you know, ever since he's been born, you know, the first time he went on the bridge, he was 4 months old. You know, we've got a picture of him at the engineering station with me in my film. You know, every time we go to the sets, he's always with me. You know, we've got him through the ages on these films. You know, to me, I'm not only telling stories of Menard, I'm chronological, you know, I'm chronicling his life as well. You know, so like you said, in that retirement chair, you know, I can watch those with my kid and be like, here, you know, because nothing ever dies on the internet. You know, that's something that he can watch with his kids, or his, you know, is something I can embarrass him on his prom night and be like, hey, look at this, you know. You know, but to me, it's like you get to meet, you get to meet some really awesome, you know, fun, kooky, fucked up people, you know, and then you get to do stuff where it's like, you know, I'm gonna take a break and I'm gonna do some weird shit like the Pizza Roll Diaries, and then you get to hang out with cool people in the chat, you know, and get to talk about stuff and do stuff that you're like, you know, yes, doing stuff like this is kind of work because, you know, you're taking an hour of your time, but to me, this is kind of like cool, man. It's just kicking it with
But it's
friends.
also fun. It's also fun to share thoughts, to share your insight, whether you're getting it from other filmmakers or actors or whoever. It's good to get that insight because you get to see what it's like, and also it's inspiring. Not for nothing, it's inspiring for that person who, like you, Vance, who's interviewing, and for the person who's being interviewed. For me, I can't speak for anyone else, but for me, it's inspiring because it's like, okay, because I mean, again, man, I do this for a love. I do this for a passion.
Yep.
And again, and also behind the scenes, it helps me therapeutically, because I don't think if I wasn't doing this, man, I would not be where I'm at right now. And
Right.
again, it's every day. While it's a struggle to deal with what I deal with on the mental aspect, this is the one few things that keep me focused, going, and trying to look for a more positive light. Again, that's why I don't feed into the negativity or the toxicity. I feed into the positive side. What when I see a new thing come up on my YouTube and it says no budget productions, we got a new thing coming out premiering. I'm like, oh, Vance is hard at work. And I remember a couple of days ago when you hit me up and you asked me about my uniforms, and at that time you kind of caught me in a really bad moment, and you weren't aware of it, and I was just like, yeah, and I'm like, normally I'm like, yes, I jump on the opportunity. At that moment, I was like going through that, and so it's one of those things with me that I just kind of like, okay, yeah, I'm going to be a part of this. I want to do this with him. I just gotta get my head on straight. Now I see Rick is asking the question: will there be any more Star Trek isolation or Trek isolation, as we call it? We call it Trek isolation. We switch it over from Trek isolation to Dark isolation, but we might go back to Trek isolation. Well, here's the thing: we filmed with Farragut Productions, so we were collaborating with them because we were technically a spinoff of Starship Farragut. I was one of the former heads of security for the Farragut, USS Farragut, my character. Now, because there's a lot of footage that was shot in Georgia on the sets, a lot of time has gone by. So we might do, if I can ever get the remainder footage, we might end up doing something where I can put together and edit something short to tell a narration point of view of what happened. Because we put out 3 to 4 episodes. There's Great Responsibility. There's Great Responsibility, Change of Command, and Beyond the Fire, Out of the Fire. And so, and of course, we had the crossover episode that, eventually is going to be coming out through Starship Farragut. And so, again, there's a lot of footage out there. So there's a lot more to come. We just have to wait and see. I would love to come back and revisit. I mean, my Doctor Who series, Legacy, where we did a whole thing with Torchwood and Doctor Who. And people are asking, are we going to finish that up? We are in talks right now to finish that up because we had so much, like a large fandom behind it. And so, yeah, I plan on even doing a possible reboot to one of my old fan films, one of my very first fan films I ever did. I'm thinking about doing a reboot because we've been talking about doing a reboot off a fan film that I did. I'm like, how cool would that be? We're doing a reboot off of something I did. I'm like, how cool would that be? So yeah, the floodgates are open. The possibilities are endless. So just gotta wait and see. You gotta wait and see what happens.
Well, you do have somewhat of a spoiler. You do have your character does make a small appearance in an upcoming film of mine. I forget the title of it, but you do make a small appearance. So there is that. So, and then you make a brief cameo in something else where you kind of point at me and yell something, and then there's that. So yeah, something very fun. So
yeah, I think the fans of Trek Isolation are going to be really, and that's not to say that you won't see these certain characters show up on other fan Trek productions. I just think at the time we were such on a high having Stan Lee appear, and we got all this other footage that we never used with Stan on it, that we still want to show. And I think it really knocked us out of the box when the fan rules and regulations came down because we had it all plotted out. So I'm like, okay, I'm a make sure Planetary Step is going all the way. We're going to make this happen. And the ideas and the creativity that's going to come from it, it's going to be mind-boggling. So I can't wait. Now, the one thing is, before I know we're going to be cutting this shortly, before I go, the one thing is I definitely, Vance, I plan on bringing you on our show, on Planetary Diary, where I do interviews as well as like you do. I plan on bringing you on. Had a little technical, I was planning on having you on last week. Had a little technical difficulty, and because I got a new computer, I'm on the new computer right now. So the person that my IT guy, I have to wait for a certain part in order to make this doggone program work so I can finish editing our interview. A lot of people don't know we did an interview last year where Vance and I talked about everything in the world of Trek and everything. And we had, again, I wanted to go into the new season debuting Vance, and things got turned around, and I had to sit back and take a deep breath on it and to say, "Woosah, woosah." Things will get better. So, yeah, and people are like wondering when I'm going to put out a new episode. Look for a new episode of Planetary Diary coming up very soon, probably before the month is out. Hopefully, with the debut of the new episode debuting with Vance. So, yeah, we got that episode coming. So that's coming. That's coming. I guarantee you. I guarantee you.
Well, that's exciting, man. That's exciting. Well, on that note, is there anything you have left to say, either in terms of cosplay or filmmakers or just all around good spirits?
Okay, a couple things. One, this month is 28 Days of Black Cosplay. If you know any cosplayers of color, minorities that are cosplaying, please go out and support them. 28 Days of Black Cosplay. It goes all month long, so make sure you go out, show your love and your love for these great cosplayers of color. Also, for all the fans out there, as I said earlier, please, you can agree to disagree. Just remember, we're all fans of all these fandoms. Just remember, just because we don't like something doesn't mean we got to throw hate at each other. Let's just sit down and talk about what we did like about it. Let's sit down and not focus on why we hate it so much. Or, at least talk about, where we have a discussion about it where we don't have to be like putting down each other. I think that's the biggest thing. Showing respect to each other because, again, that's what Trek was all about. Trek was about respecting life and respecting other cultures and alien races, at the premise of what Star Trek was about. The other thing I want to say is thank you to everyone out there who are showing their support and love for everything I've done in the pop culture world, whether it's cosplay, whether it's my wrestling, whether it's my acting, whether it's my fan films or my, anything I've done. Thank you. There's more to come. I have so much more to come. Just if you want, please go to the Smoke 007 page. It's the Smoke 007 on YouTube. Subscribe. Check out some of the videos I posted. Check out some of my interviews. I got so much more. And also, one other thing I forgot to tap into, I also am one of the hosts of a video game series called Pass the Controller. Pass the Controller is myself and two other great hosts, Mark Knuckles Carter and Brian Civic Monic Lessick. We cover everything that's going on in the video game industry, and we do shows once or twice a month. And basically, we talk about everything that's going on in the industry, and we're on Facebook, and we're on Twitch, and we're on YouTube. So check out, matter of fact, go to our YouTube channel for Pass the Controller or PTC Nation and check us out. We got more great guests coming. We got people that we've had guests in the video game industry. So check us out. And again, guys, thank you all for the love and support. Make sure you support this man here because he is breaking his neck to show you guys all different aspects of the fandom. Vance is the man. He's the living legend. He could tell you, oh, I'm not. No, I'm not. But so did Clark Kent. Clark Kent was like, well, I'm just a mild-mannered guy, Oh, gee, I don't know, But when Vance takes off that hat, he slicks his hair back, he puts on that uniform, he becomes Menard in all different universes. But he becomes this true Superman of Star Trek. So again, make sure you support No Budget Productions. These guys are doing a lot, and this man here is doing a lot for a little, and all he wants to do is show the love for the fandom. So please support this man. Support anyone that's out here doing films, whether it's Trek related or any other, to show your love and support. Because again, we're just trying to show our love and express our creativity. So that's all I got to say.
Well, I I appreciate your words. I'm speechless. It's the thing I have to say. The first conversation we had, after you released your film, and we talked about me coming on board and joining your show. It was a very humbling. I was very honored, in seeing me join you guys. You know, I teared up. You know, I not, it's, ever since Michael had asked me to join his Valiant,
Mhm.
and then you asked me to join, even though I'm not part of the crew of the Eisenberg, still I'm part of the extended family, I
Well,
feel.
you're the reason why the Eisenberg between you and John Royster's character, you two are the main admirals of the story. So it's like we answer to you guys and all. It's like you don't often, and that's something that you don't often see. Like they do it on Orville, but like we want to make it where it's not a whole bunch of different admirals. It's
Right.
two main admirals that we always answer to, and then eventually we'll probably do a little bit more of expansion as the series or as the season goes. We plan on exploring that. So to be able to bring you on board like that, we again that to me was like no brainer. That was a no brainer.
Seeing
You know,
seeing that seeing that was where, like, I told Royce, I started showing him, like the Orville spaceship, and because I when he saw that, of course, the now famous buckle your seatbelt, he knows that uniform. So when I showed him the bridge, I told him, I said, one day we might go visit this spaceship, because of course he's been to the other bridges, he's been to the
but
engineering at Ray Tessie's, he's been to, I said, would you like to visit this ship one day? He was like, oh, yeah, can we? And I was like, maybe one day, you never know,
well, I tell you what, when the time does come, I do have my Enterprise chair that I'm also modifying to make it look like Gerald's chair. So he will be able to sit in that chair because
that
I can. When I take the cover off, I'm like, look, you get a 2-for-1. You get this chair, put him behind the green screen it, and the whole nine. He'll be
that
able to be like this. I'm like, yes, yes. So
that
yeah,
would be awesome. But I
definitely,
but I
definitely.
but I tell you, there's not many times that I get speech, just, starstruck, being in a project that I'm in, humbled. And that was one of them, even though it was a, brief scene, I was so happy because it was part of a project where it's like, this is positivity and I can't wait to do it. But anyway, that being said, guys, I go follow his page. He'll send me the link after the show. I'll put it. Give me about maybe 10 minutes after we get off the air, and he'll send me the links. I'll put it in the description of the video. And that being said, go down, subscribe to his channels on YouTube, because I know Jim Landscape LLC had asked what your how to follow you, your
Or you can
channels.
do, or here's the easiest way: Google search, and you'll see. Type in Eric the Smoke Moran, and a whole stuff will come up. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. What else? Facebook, YouTube. All my stuff comes up. IMBD is like, holy crap, this guy's everywhere. So yeah, all you gotta do is type up. I tell people, always joke around and say, yeah, Google search me, Eric the Smoke Moran, and you'll see a whole list of stuff come up. You
There you
know.
go. Okay. You guys heard it. You heard it from the man himself. Just type in Eric the Smoke Moran, and
On
it's
Google.
easier than on Google. There you go.
Yeah,
All right, there you go.
because
So
it's so
all right, guys, you heard it there. So that's how the best way to find it. And you need to screen cap that smile, guys. That should be all of our avatars. There we go. All right, guys. With that in mind, we'll cut it out. We'll let you go. So, all right, guys. With that, always be genuine, be safe, and keep on geeking on, guys.